everyone. My name is Maren Scheffel. I'm from the Open University of the Netherlands, and my paper, or the presentation I'm going to hold today, is called Widget as You Lead. I am performing well indeed. You might be wondering where that title comes from. It is actually due to this paper being a follow-up paper to a previous study we did, and I'll present some of the results of that as well. And that was called Widget on the Wall, Am I Performing Well at All? So just to give you a little hint of where that title is coming from. So in this paper, what we wanted to do is to see whether in a collaborative online learning environment, there are predictive relations between what the students actually do in that environment, so their activities and the grades they get in the end, and whether these predictive relations are influenced by having a widget in the environment or not. The structure of my presentation today is that first I'll say a little bit about the course and the widget we actually used. Then I'll go to the first widget study and say a little bit about that, so where the origins come from. Then I'll present the live study, and then the results and the discussion for both of the studies combined, and a final conclusion. So for the course and the widget, the course we used is an European virtual seminar. It's an online course that is taking place at 10 different European universities. Some of them are distance universities, some of them are regular universities. Age ranges are between 20 to 25 for the regular universities for the students, and for the distant universities, the age range is roughly 30 to 50 years, just to give you an idea of how old the students are. And what we wanted to do in that course is to provide a widget in a computer-supported collaborative learning environment to provide feedback to the learners, but also to the tutors. So it's a two-sorted kind of thing. And with that widget, we wanted to facilitate awareness and reflection on the processes that are going on in that environment and in the courses. And this is what the widget looks like. It's a 5-dimensional widget. At the very top, you have initiative, and that is all the initiative posts that students do are counted. So initiative in the sense of being the first in a thread in a discussion forum, or being the first to upload a file, things like that. Then we have responsiveness, that is one to the left, which is obvious if students respond. So either they respond to a thread, they respond to a file that was uploaded, they respond to a blog post, any sort of comment, response, etc. is counted in there. Then we have connectedness, which is how often they friend someone in the course, the typical aspect of social environments. Then we have presence, so the number of clicks in total they do to account for how active or how present they were in the platform. And then productivity is a accumulation between the initiative and responsiveness activities versus the presence. And what you can see here, you see this per course. Every user sees himself as the orange line and sees the group average as the blue line, and the other course members are listed below. They can tick them on or off to see less or more. And students can decide whether they actually want to share their activities with their peers and say, I don't want anyone else to actually see what I do. They can tick this off, but then on the other hand, they will not see the individuals and they'll only see the group average. So it's kind of a reciprocal privacy model that we implemented there, just to make sure that if people don't want to share, they don't have to, but then they also don't get to see the other people's. In this cumulative view, you see the activities throughout the whole course, so from beginning of the course to wherever in the course they are at the moment when they log in. And we also had a second view, the periodic activity view, where students could see this per month. So they could see at the bottom, they can click on the slider and see for which months they wanted to see the activity. This as a little background for the course that we used and for the widget. Now for the exploratory study that we used as input for our live study this time. We had log data from this course for the past 4 years, but in those years the widget had not been implemented yet. So this is something important you have to keep in mind. The students there did not see the widget. We just had the log data where we could calculate what the widget indicators would have been if they had the widget. So we thought, well, for those past years, are there any correlations? If we calculate those indicator scores for the past years, with the grades the students got in the end. And we had several hypotheses for that. So we hypothesized that there are correlations, positive and significant correlations between the scores the students would get and the grades they get in the end. We also hypothesized that the presence indicator would be the best grade predictor for the students. And we said that the scores that students get in the second half of the course are most likely to be better predictors for the grades than the ones they get in the first half. We only included the initiative indicator, the responsiveness indicator, and the presence. Why did we include the other two? Well, productivity, as I said, is a combination of others, so we didn't include that, obviously. And connectedness varied very strongly. This was mainly due that students worked in teams, and very often they only either connected with only their team members or with none at all. And from what we gathered with talking to the tutors is very often only in those cases where tutors said, hey, there's a connectedness friending feature, students actually used it, and if tutors never mentioned it, they never used it, so we kind of thought it's too varied of data and we didn't include that. So how did our hypothesis turn out to be yes or no? Well, in that exploratory study, most indicators did correlate positively and significantly, and many of them could also be used as predictors. Surprisingly, however, it wasn't the presence indicator that was best as a predictor, but the responsiveness ones. And also, it wasn't the second half of the course that was best predicting, but the first half. Now, the reason for that is that because it's a collaborative course, people tend to use Skype, they tend to use Google Docs, etc. And the more they progress towards the end of the course, where they have to hand in their big report, the more they use those tools. But we were only able to actually monitor the platform activity, so we had no way to include their activities in Google Docs, Skype, whatnot, whatever else they used in our analysis. And this is why we assume this drop or this change, actually the shift happened, that the first half was a better predictor than the second half. Now for the live study we did, so basically in this 5th year now we actually implemented the widget into the platform and made it available to the students and also to the tutors. And this time, based on the results we got from the first study, we had these research questions. So we wanted to know, is there still a significant positive correlation between widget scores and the grades? And is the responsiveness indicator still the best predictor? And is it still the first half that is the best predicting time in the course for the activities and the grades? Additionally to this analysis, which was basically a repetition of the analysis we did in the offline study, we also actually wanted to know, so what did students think of the widget and also the tutors? So we asked them, we gave them an evaluation framework, a questionnaire to evaluate the widget, and we wanted to know whether there were differences in the times where we asked. We asked them one time in the middle of the course to evaluate the widget, and we asked them the exact same questions at the very end of the course. And we wanted to see, is there a difference between middle and end questionnaire, and also is there a difference between students and tutors, because of course we asked both of the groups. Now, as for the results, if we only look at the plain numbers, here you can see the average initiative scores of the different years. The big black bar is the one for the final year, the one where the live study is. And we did some significance testing for the differences, and there actually is a highly significant difference for the initiative posts between the live year and the previous years. And so there's much less, as you can see, much less initiative posts. If we look at the responsiveness indicators, here we also have a highly significant difference, but a little bit in the other direction. So there's more responsiveness posts in the live year than in the previous years. As for the presence, there was no significant difference, so it's basically sort of the same. Unfortunately, for the very first year, the 2011-2012, we did not have log data about the presence, so we couldn't calculate with that. So to come to the actual correlation results, this would be if we calculated the correlation coefficients over the whole period, so over the whole course. In the top row you have the first study, and the bottom row you have the live study. And because all these numbers and stars and whatnot are kind of confusing, I just converted this to color coding to show you which combinations were the significant ones. So yellow is the offline study where we just pretended what would have the indicators been. Students did not see the widgets in those years. And for the red, you can see what the live study resulted in. So as you can see, it's 4 different grades students get in the end. And in the first study, there were quite a lot of correlations, quite a lot of positive correlations going on between the different grades and the different indicators. However, in the live study, only the responsiveness indicator got significant correlations. Now, if we look at this for the individual months, so not the overall course, but the actual individual months for the correlation coefficients, we get this picture. And as you can see, there's, again, much more in the offline study than we had now in the live study. And you can also see a shift that is going on, so that in the live study, the last few months of the course, so months 4 and 5, got the significant results between activities for these different indicators and the grades. Now this is plain correlation, so that doesn't tell us anything about is this a predictive indicator or not. So we also calculated the standardized path coefficients. And again, here you can see the overall calculation, so over the whole course. And what you can see here is that the yellow, again, is the previous study we did. There's a lot of predictive quality in these indicators. For the presence, they were even negative predictions. And if we look at the live study again, there's much more, or there's much less than in the previous one, and it's again only for the responsiveness indicators. Also, if we look at the individual months again, you can see a similar picture than we had with the correlations, but a bit less significant numbers. And again, it's mainly the responsiveness that kicks in, and it's mainly the responsiveness that can be seen as a predictive indicator. And it's mainly months 4 and months 5. Also some in months 1 that you can see here. You don't see the actual values right now, but the ones in months 4 and months 5 were much higher. You can look them up in the paper. So this is for the plain results. I'll come to the discussion and what it means in a little bit. As I said, we wanted to also see what the students and the tutors actually thought about the widget. Did it help them? Did they perceive it as useful? Did it have an impact on them? So what we did is we gave them the EFLA, the evaluation framework for learning analytics, that consists of these 4 sections with the questions that you see here. So we asked them, do they know what data is being collected, why the data is being collected, who has access, does it make them aware of their learning situation, does it help them to forecast the future learning situation, does it help them reflect, does it help them to adapt their behavior or not, and does it make them study more effectively, more efficiently, etc. And we asked very similar questions to the teachers, just obviously not with a learning focus, but with a teaching focus. So here you have the questions for the teachers. They're very similar, but as I said, with a teaching focus. And if we look at the results for this, you can see here the different questions individually, and on the right side you see the 4 dimensions combined. So basically what we can see here is that awareness and reflection, so awareness starts here on the side, awareness and reflection, so from here, from the side, basically like at 3 o'clock till 8 o'clock, you can see awareness and reflection, and those get rather high values from both groups in both times where we asked students, which is good, because I mean that's what we wanted. We wanted the widget to foster awareness and reflection, so goal achieved. For the data and the impact questions, there were some very lower results and a bit of varying, so there's some work to do, but the main point that we wanted to reach with the widget awareness and reflection was done. What we did is some t-tests to compare students and tutors in the different rounds, and also the different rounds for each stakeholder. And we actually only got 2 significant differences. One is the awareness criterion, so we combined the individual questions for the dimensions. The awareness criterion when comparing students and tutors in the first round, so when we gave the questionnaire in the middle of the course. And the reflection criterion when we compared round 1 and round 2 for the students. Now, so what do all these results mean? What does that tell us? The first research question we had, as I said, is, are there still significant positive correlations between the widget scores and the grades in the end, now that the students actually see the widget in their environment? Yes, there are, so that's good. But only or mainly for the responsiveness criterion. So that's the big widget indicator that really has the best potential. There are less correlations, but those that are there are stronger than in the first study we did. And also, it seems quite logical or understandable why this is the case, because commenting best sort of presents team interaction. If I comment on something that someone did, I'm interacting with that person and it supports the collaborative process. For the second questions, are the responsiveness scores still the better grade predictors than the other scores? Yes, absolutely. As we could see, basically it's mainly the responsiveness scores. And we anticipated this because, as I said, that's what we actually wanted to do. We wanted to support awareness and reflection, and the widget did that. What surprised us a little is that the initiative scores are really no predictors anymore at all. And we think that this is mainly due to an increase in external tools, so that in that last year, people used even more external tools than they had in the years before. The third question, is the first half of the course the better predictor? No, absolutely not. This time it was the second half. We have two theories why this might be. Initially, less active students could, by seeing their activity on the widget, be stimulated to actually do a bit more and to see, oh wow, it's already halfway through the course and I'm really behind, so maybe I should put some effort in and I should actually do more. And also, students of course know that their activities in those external tools, so like Google Docs, Skype, whatever, are not being logged, and so that their activities there are not being reflected in the widget, but they want that the widget really depicts what they are doing, so they do a little more and maybe write a little short messages or something, or do something in the platform, so that their activity level there actually increases towards the end of the course. Now for the widget evaluation, we wanted to know whether there were differences in the evaluation between mid-course and end-course. As I said, yes, but for the students' reflection criterion only. We think this is mainly due to students feeling less accurately represented due to this external tool usage. That's mainly the idea, we think. For the second one, whether there's a difference between students and tutors and widget evaluation, there is for this awareness criterion in round one only. And we think that students already liked the widget from the beginning on. We had also some qualitative questions we asked them, as well as the tutors. But tutors first were sort of skeptic, and they had better ratings at the second round when we asked them. And this is mainly because I said they actually saw their personal impressions of their students reflected by the widget, but sort of didn't believe them at first. But at the end, when they really saw, okay, that widget really reflects what I also think about my students, they really liked the widget. So they had to be persuaded sort of during the course of the course. As for the conclusions, what do we take out of all of this? Responsiveness activities are a very good predictor towards the grades, especially those from the second or the later part of the course in the year where the widget was in use. And so we think that some of the differences could be explained by the use of the widget, but we don't know for sure, of course. So we will need to gather data from further years, and we're in the process of doing so. The course is still running. It will finish now at the end of March. So we'll have new data soon. And we just need data from further years to actually confirm that what we found out for last year is true for all the life years where the widgets are in use. And that's it for me. Some shameless advertising for the evaluation framework. If you want your learning analytics tools to be evaluated with that really short, simple, easy to do questionnaire, get in touch with me and I'll help you do it.
Okay, we have time for a few questions. Think about them carefully.
Would you like to comment on the election?
Election in the Netherlands? I'm actually German. I only work in the Netherlands, but I'm happy of the results. Yes.
Any other questions?
It's different. Like we had the 4 grades. The fourth one is the overall grade, and the other grades we had, they are made up of different things. There is some individual grades. This is the ones I showed. So where the tutor really says, okay, for your I think it's somewhere in the beginning. You should see the descriptions here. So yeah, the first one is planning and progress, how they plan and progress their stuff. Second is how they contribute to the team, and the third is how they support. And then the individual overall is a combination of those. Plus, they also get a group grade for their report they send in, but we didn't calculate this. So for these analyses, we really only use the individual gradings.
Wait, I have a question first there, and then we go.
So, you said that you expected a number of students are using the other communications like Specht or other things. Did you have a way to account for that, or did you ask them, or are you just curious?
No, we know that because we talked to the students, and one of the co-authors is actually the coordinator of the whole course, so he has a very in-depth knowledge of what is going on in the course. And we had an experts workshop with the tutors after the course was over, and had a one-day interview session with them and asked them and whatnot. And they confirmed what the course organizer also said, that because they sometimes participate in those meetings, like they have group Skype calls and whatnot, and we know that people are using this, and they also felt that there, over the years, has been an increase of this external tool usage.
I mean, what was graded, this was also one of my points when we asked Hendrik. So it's very much also the quality of the group work that is graded, not just content. So,
Yeah.
And now we have this awareness through the widget. So there's the difference between the pre-study and the live study is the awareness of certain indicators that indeed have to do with what is graded.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe you could reflect it also in this sense. So the students are now more aware of what they will.
They're more
how they
aware
will
of
be graded.
exactly.
Did the grades change overall? I mean, it's always difficult to compare groups, but how about
I'm
the
actually not.
overall grades?
I'm actually not sure. I'd have to look that up. I can get back to you on that. What I do know is that there were only, I think, in every second year or so, there were 1 or 2 dropouts at some very early in the beginning. But everyone that actually went through the whole course, they all passed, so there were no fails. And that was basically steady. There was no drop or raise in fails or non-fails. For the actual grades, I think it was, if I remember correctly, just by looking at them, I think it was fairly similar. Also from talking to the tutors, but I'd have to actually just really look again. But I think it was fairly similar.
Do you have any student comments about their reaction to the data visualization you used?
They actually liked it. I mean, they said it was very, very easy and very intuitive to understand. We gave them a manual and really explained to them, this is what this indicator calculates, and this is how this is calculated, this is how this is calculated. And we also had a discussion group within the environment where they could ask questions if they had problems and stuff like that. And they liked it, and that's what I said. They liked it kind of directly from the beginning, and the tutors sort of more had to be convinced of that this widget really is useful and can give some additional information. But they said it's very intuitive, it's easy to understand, and what was also interesting is none of them disabled this privacy issue. So all of them kept their everyone can see me, so I can see everyone. None of them disabled it at all.
Another question there?
Do you have any details of how often the students actually looked at the widget, in terms of did they look at it more at the beginning of the course and at the end of the course when it was coming to be graded, and was there any sort of relationship around that?
Unfortunately not, because we only have specific logs for whether it was if they actually send something, so this responsiveness or initiating something, and the rest is just click, so we know they click on pages, but we don't know which ones they are. So that's something we would, we also thought of that, but we would need to implement this additionally to the stuff we already have. So right now, sorry.
Did they find it understandable to know how to adapt to the computer on the basis of what they were seeing? Like, do you have more qualitative evaluation? Do you have a, like, more quantitative evaluation? Do you have a, like, 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 a
We got some students, because when we gave them the widget evaluation questionnaire, we also had like open comment boxes. And some of the students actually said that they noticed they are lagging behind and that they did more and were more active than in their group. So we definitely got that, yeah.
I have a methodological question. Good paper, by the way, you were right.
Thank you.
You did the first experiment, which gave you results, and that slide captured that. Then you did a live experiment, and you have a completely different behavior, so to speak. I think this is very interesting for the whole community, because sometimes we wonder how easy it is to replicate things. In your case, you first did a sort of like a scaled down version, thinking this will give me a good sense of what is happening, and then you do the live version, it's like, things change a lot. Could you elaborate a bit why do you think that happened?
Well, I think, or we assume that possibly the widget does have something to do with it, that they actually saw something and that they were making more sure that whatever they were doing also in the external tools would be reflected in their widget scores. And also in the original study, we actually hypothesized that the last few months would be better indicators. Turned out they weren't, which for us then was surprising, but was due to this external tool usage. And now in the live study, this original hypothesis we did have, that the second half was better, was confirmed. So actually, it was, yeah.
Okay, we have these 5 minutes to hand over that we have to observe, otherwise Alisa is gonna okay, so in the meantime, probably the Michigan folks can set up. I'm anticipating the next title of your paper. It's gonna be Widget in the Cloud, Why Am I Getting Out?
Maybe, yeah.
To predict graduation.